of Nigeria, which also sit on the bench of the highest and the apex court in the land, the Supreme Court of Nigeria. Justice Kayode Ariwoola is presently the Chief Justice of Nigeria. But recently, the NJC, the National Judicial Council, had recommended Justice c0rrupt to be the next Chief Justice of Nigeria. The report added that during the sitting of the 106th meeting of the NJC, the recommendation of Justice c0rrupt for appointment was made to the President. And so much has been said about the state of the Nigerian judiciary and what really lies ahead. Tonight, let's get some sense of what to expect as the man you're seeing just now on your screen, Justice Justice Ariwoola, bows out and Justice c0rrupt might be taking over from him. I'm being joined tonight by a very senior lawyer. Mr. Kunle Adegoke is a senior advocate of Nigeria and he joins us live from Maryland in Ikeja, Lagos. Thank you so much. Lenny Esik, it's good to have you on the program tonight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okibaloye. It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much indeed. Let's take a quick assessment of Justice Kayode Ariwoola and the Nigerian judiciary under him, because he is the supervisor, he is the coordinator, he is a chairman of the Nigerian judiciary. And so everything under him over the last few years, how do you describe the Justice Kayode Ariwoola? Don't forget that Justice Walter Onogen, today information emerging that he's going to start a legal battle, restart the legal battle about his removal from office. Give us an understanding of, objectively though, of what you make of Justice Kayode Ariwoola's time as, well, he's bowing now, his time as a CJN.
All right, thank you very much. The time for assessment of a public officer should rather be at a time when such an officer is bowing out. That should be the final assessment to be able to pass a recommendation as to what such officer has actually achieved while in office. And the time has come for the Honorable Justice Kayode Ariwoola to actually be assessed by the public. One of such members of the public is my humble self, and I'm happy to be here on this program to give such an assessment. I would say that his lordship, his achievements while in office as the CJN will be traced back to when his lordship was ordinary justice of the Supreme Court. Well, when I say ordinary, that doesn't mean to belittle the office of a justice of the Supreme Court, but I mean to distinguish the office of a justice of the Supreme Court from the office of the Chief Justice of Nigeria as the man that is at the apex of the apex court itself. In that wise, his lordship will not only be carrying out judicial functions, but equally administrative functions. One will recall that what led to the outing of the former CJN was some form of allegation that came from the members, the justices of the Supreme Court, with respect to high-handedness and maybe some financial impropriety, by which they alleged that their affairs, their interests were not being taken care of by the former CJN, Justice Tanko. Under Justice Olukayode Ariwoola, the Honorable Justice Olukayode Ariwoola, we did not have any such allegation. That means that the affairs of the Supreme Court were better piloted under his lordship, that there could be said to be a form of unanimity, love, and camaraderie among the justices of the Supreme Court. Equally, it was during the time of the Honorable Justice Olukayode Ariwoola that the Supreme Court gave some landmark judgments which have been celebrated by majority of Nigerians. One of such is the decision relating to the local government autonomy. Although the Supreme Court had been consistent in so many cases in the past with respect to what should be the role, the function, the status of local governments in Nigeria and the position of that particular tier of government, whether an independent tier of government or is just an administrative appendage to the state's government. And under the leadership of the Honorable Justice Olukayode Ariwoola, we had the benefit of a decision of the Supreme Court that finally laid to rest the agitations and the malpractices that had been recorded against the governors in the administration of the local governments. We look forward to a situation in the future where the local governments will be able to deliver more on their mandates as prescribed in the Constitution, courtesy of the decision of the Supreme Court under the outgoing Chief Justice of Nigeria. Equally, I will say that with respect to discipline of judges, we recorded fundamental decisions of the NJC, the National Judicial Council, under the Honorable Justice Olukayode Ariwoola, by which a number of judicial officers were shown the way, and many others were disciplined in accordance with what the council found would be the meritorious decisions that should be given to serve as a deterrent to others. In terms of financial management of the judiciary under his lordship, till today, we haven't had any allegation of maybe malpractice or misappropriation of anything of that sort, which I believe, if there had been one, there are many people in the judiciary today who would not want to keep such a thing under the carpet. His lordship, as an officer of the judiciary and a public officer, would definitely have one area or another where there will be criticism. But I would say overall, I will give his lordship 70% or more with respect to his delivery. Serving as the Chief Justice of Nigeria.
And perhaps, although there are those, I mean, if you look at mathematically and economically speaking, there are those who will say, oh, under Justice Ariwoola is when we saw a 300% increase in the remuneration of a judicial officer. Yeah, I mean, that could be ascribed under it, although one way or the other, it may have a role to play in pushing for a higher pay for the judiciary. Those who will say, economically speaking, they probably will be earning, in terms of value, what they've been earning in the last 3, 4, 5 years because of the issue of inflation. But if everything comes back to normal, we will see that the judicial officers are being better paid with respect to a 300% pay rise. But the question here is that, what does this mean for the judiciary? A better pay, does it mean a better independence of the judiciary, a better performance? Because there are those who will say it is not only being paid well. Most of our judicial officers, and I can give 3, 4 examples of some Supreme Court justices, some who are late or some who are alive, they are battling with sight problems, some of them spinal cord problems, spine problems because of the long hours they spend in longhand writing of their judgments. Some of them don't have enough assistance to help them. These are some of the issues, don't you think, Mr. Adegoke?
Yes, I believe that the process of making the judicial arm of government in Nigeria to be better functional and better in performance in terms of delivery of its constitutional mandate is a continuous process. And there are fundamental areas which you have mentioned that I think the incoming CJN will definitely have to work on. Those that have been addressed definitely will no longer require the new CJN to reinvent the wheel. However, the new areas, the areas that have not been addressed by the outgoing CJN, who had probably a period of 2 years within which he was able to serve in that capacity, will require the new CJN to work harder on this. And I very much agree with you that increase in pay would not necessarily automatically guarantee a better economic conditions for the judges if the economy continues, nosediving. And that is where the government will need to work. It doesn't only apply to the executive or the judiciary alone. It equally applies to general members of the public. If there is increase in minimum wage from 30,000 naira to 70,000 naira, but if the purchasing power, the purchasing capacity of an average Nigerian continues nosediving as a result of the fall in the value of the currency, definitely it will make absolute rubbish of the increase. And that is an area that I believe the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the current government is definitely, that they are definitely working on. And one will expect that in the next few months, there will be delivery in this respect. Otherwise, the judgment of the mass of the people might not be very favorable to the government, despite the efforts in increasing wages and remunerations due to judicial officers. So one is expecting a situation where there will be better not only remuneration packages, there will be better working conditions. Part of the better working conditions will be those things that will guarantee health care delivery in favor of the justices of the Supreme Court, the justices of the Court of Appeal, and judges generally. When one looks at the circumstances under which they work, there are many things to be done to ensure that they will be able to deliver better. For instance, where there is a provision for more hands to assist them in research, in preparing their processes, their judgments and rulings and what have you, it will reduce the volume of work that is making many of them to grow or look older than their real age. And aside from that, where a judge even retires, the retirement package should take into consideration his health allowances that will be able to guarantee for him access to quality health services, not only locally, but where necessary, to even be able to seek better health service outside the shores of the country where we are not able to provide such. But it is our expectation that there will be no basis for anybody, whether public officer, private officer, or a private individual, to have any reason to even travel out of the country if our healthcare service is made superlative and is able to deliver what an average Nigerian requires to be able to live a meaningful life. So this is an aspect that one expects the government to really work on. And this will inure to the benefit of not only justices of the Supreme Court or Court of Appeal or other judges of the lower court, but equally to general members of the public. And that is when the government can be said to have adequately delivered. There are so many other areas that I believe the incoming CJN will equally need to work on. Let me quickly, to ensure that the achievements of heroes past will not be in vain.
Yeah. Whether you are Gambari or Udokama or Chidi, or you are Shehu, or you are Adeola, wherever you may be, what is important for our judicial system is when every Nigerian who appear before our court system knows that they will get justice. And corruption has been embayed, and there's been a conversation that should not even be moved close to our judiciary at all, because the power of life and death lies in the mouth and in the powers of the judicial officer. They are that powerful. Now, the issue of corruption is being discussed, either in terms of staffing and recruitment. Those judicial activists, like Professor Chidi Odinkalu, has always said that appointment as a judicial officer in Nigeria looks like a biologically transmitted employment where children of present justices or judges get automatically appointed as judges in lower courts. How can we fight and make sure that our judicial system is not being labeled as a corrupt judicial system? What can we do? Either in terms of money that exchange ends from lawyers to judges, or in terms of recruitment of judges.
Right. This is a very key issue that you have raised, and nobody can take it away from the general assessment by the public that Nigerian judiciary is reputed to have been utterly corrupt. And this is not a fresh allegation. It is something that has become consistent with us for quite a long time. When the Honorable Justice Samson Uwaifo was retiring from the Supreme Court in 2007, his lordship made certain allegations of corruption having crept into the Supreme Court. And it was quite scary because nobody expected such a statement to come from a high officer of his standing. And when such a statement comes from such a person, it shouldn't be taken with levity. Right from then, we have had several allegations of corruption in many areas of our judicial angle. And I have been raising this issue for quite some time, that it is imperative for us to purge the judiciary of the corrupt elements within. It is not every judicial officer that is corrupt, but a few ones, the ones that are corrupt among them, have labeled and have destroyed substantially the integrity of judicial officers in this country. Sincerely, we have so many of our justices and judges who are always standing against being corrupted anytime such an effort is made by anybody. And you see, for instance, the speech, the interview or a lecture or talk given by the retired Honorable Justice Amina Adamu Augi recently, where his lordship categorically analyzed what happened before his lordship came into the Lagos Court of Appeal, with corruption that had become so prevalent and endemic in the registry of the Lagos Court of Appeal. And by the time his lordship got there, many people felt that his lordship would be cowed, would be terrified by those people who had become authorities and principalities in that place. But standing up against them, they were routed out of that place, many thrown to Maiduguri, to many parts of the country where they could not continue to hold people to ransom the way they had been doing as a result of having been in a particular place for so long. And this is one thing that the new CJN will equally have to work on. Many of our judicial officers sincerely are utterly corrupt. And the mode of discipline of judges must be sharpened, must be made real, must be made more effective. A situation where a judicial officer is found to have committed some malpractice and is given a pat or the hand does not encourage the general populace to have confidence in such a judicial system. And that is why many foreign investors that will come into such a climb, knowing that the judicial system of the country can be corrupted, will come with the intention of corrupting the system. They know that officers in the legislature, in the executive, and more worrisomely, the judiciary could be corrupted. Definitely, such investment that is coming in is not to benefit the people, it's not to benefit the country, but rather to rip off the country, knowing that at the end of the day, when they are even taken before the judges of the land, they will be able to escape from being punished. And this is where we need to critically look at. We have many fine judicial officers that are performing exceedingly well, but those that are corrupt among them are tarnishing the entire thing and they are destroying it. And with respect to recruitment, I will say that yes, I must give kudos to my very good friend, Professor Chidi Odinkalu, for always raising the red flag whenever he feels that there is one. It might not be correct all the time, but on those instances that he has raised the alarm, we need to critically look into this. However, with respect to recruitment into judicial offices, I have raised this in the past, that our judges must not only be people of integrity. Yes, we need men and women of integrity to man our judicial offices. But it is equally fundamental that they must be meritorious, they must be brilliant, they must be courageous. Where a judge is appointed on the basis of maybe affiliation or relationship with maybe a politician or with another judicial officer, and he gets there, that is not different from the system of paternalism, which have been condemned in many political systems. For instance, I think China waged hundreds of years of war against paternalism, which has been alleged to have crept into our judicial system. However, there is a clause to this. We must query this. We must look into this. We must probe into it to see if those persons that were appointed and are said to have affiliations with maybe a serving or retired judicial officer actually merited the appointment.
All right.
If they really merited the appointment, it would be unjust to disqualify them because they are related to somebody. For instance, now, today, my father used to be a family judge in my hometown. Family judge, I mean within our own family alone. So if I become a family judge tomorrow, now nobody should criticize me for becoming a family.
Let's take a break.
D.F. Kennedy once said. Okay.
Let's take a pause quickly. Ms. Adegoke, there's still so much to talk about. We do not know, and I'm speaking for those who do not know, who are not frequent to our court system, and who are not frequent to the Supreme Court. Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, what do we know of her? Then again, the issue of the federal government, the Chinese company, and the threat of an international breach. The allegation of international breach by that Chinese company with Ogun State government. We want to learn more and perhaps lessons from all of those. I'll be joined on the program by a national chairman of one of the major political parties in Nigeria. And give us an understanding. What do you make of the same question I asked Alhaji Gabam about the presidential aircraft? A new one, and the explanation of the presidency on it. Considering the debates Nigerians are having, the economic conditions of the country, and what they've raised as security issue and maintenance problems that has occurred over the past months.
Thank you very much. The issue concerning the presidential aircraft that has just been procured is one that I know will agitate many, considering recent agitations from the people on the economic conditions of the country and the fact that we recently witnessed mass protests